Jai. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Parthasarti Lalita Vishaka, Radha Parthasarti Lalita Vishaka. Jaya Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Chaturashata Shri Srimad is Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Das Thakur Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to some devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is a reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 3, Text 10. So again, this is continuing with the prose verses here. So it's a short verse. We'll just read the Shabdart here. So Ata, then, Ayam, this, Eva, certainly, Varaha, benediction, He, indeed, Arhatama, O most worshipable of the worshipable. Yarhi, because, Barhishi, in the sacrifice. Raja Rishahe, of King Nabhi. Varda Rishabhaha, the best of the benefactors. Bhavan, your lordship. Nijapurusha, of your devotees. Ikshana Vishayaha, the object of the sight. Asit, has become. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O most worshipable of all, you are the best of all benefactors, and your appearance at saintly King Nabhi's sacrificial arena is meant for our benediction. Because you have been seen by us, you have bestowed upon us the most valuable benediction. Purport. Nija Purusha Ikshana Vishaya. In Bhagavad Gita 9:29, Krishna says, Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion as a friend is in me, and I am also a friend to him. It's a vicious feedback loop here. Please, someone take care of it. I guess it saw someone coming, decided to behave itself. Okay, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equal to everyone. In that sense, He has no enemies and no friends. Everyone is enjoying the fruit of reactions of His own work, and the Lord, within everyone's heart, is observing and giving everyone the desired result. However, just as devotees are always anxious to see the Supreme Lord satisfied in every way, similarly, the Supreme Lord is very anxious to present Himself before His devotees. Shri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 8, Paritranaya sarunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. Thus, Krishna's appearance is for the deliverance and satisfaction of his devotees. Actually, he does not advent himself simply to kill the demons, for that can be done by his agents. Lord Vishnu's appearance at the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Nabi was just to please the king and his assistants. Otherwise, there was no reason for his being present there. Om Aginaatamarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaramayam Dadatti Swavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Shri Tam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Vishvakachanvitam Scha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschita Deshadarane Vanchakal Bhattarubhasya Kripasunubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Surupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhakta Kyam Namame Bhakti Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Jayatam Surutao Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsarvasva Paramboja Radha Madana Mohano Divyadvindaranyam Kalpadrumada Shrimadranakara Simhasanastao Shrimadrada Shila Govinda Deva Prishtalibi Seva Manosmarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastitaha Karshan Venus Vaner Gopir Gopinata Shiestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sarigora Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vikasha Swami Niti Namane Om Tat Sat. This is a very, very nice verse. Actually, all the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam are verse, but this verse is particularly nice because this talks about the relationship of the Lord with the devotee. So, the Lord has appeared before the saintly king Nabi and the Brahmanas, simply because they only desired to see the Lord. Hare Krishna. Better? Okay. Okay. There's a lot of fans in here right now. It's very hot. And, do you all need a fan back there? You don't have a fan. Everybody. Okay. Anyway, so the relationship between the Lord and his devotees is very sweet. Now, this is a very interesting insight that is uncommon in the world today. Let me give you an example between two religions, our religion and religion of the people who follow Abraham, the Abrahamic religions. So the people who follow the Bible, they have a story in the first part of the Bible. It's about a great ship that carried all animals because of a flood to preserve the animals and so forth. And we also have a story just like that too. In the ninth canto of this Shastra, the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's the story of Satyavrata Maharaj and Matsyavatar. So little comparison between these two stories, and you'll see that there is a big difference in the understanding of the glories of the Lord. So, in the So when Satyavrata Muni, not Satyavrata Muni, but Satyavrata Maharaj, he was performing austerities. He's a saintly king. And he was performing austerities, and he took a sip of palm water. He took some water from the river. He was going to sip some water that was part of his austerities. He saw a little fish in the palm of his hand. The little fish says, "Oh, dear king, I've taken shelter of you. Please find some place that I can, bigger than this water in the palm of your hand, that I can live in." So Satyavrata Muni, Satyavrata Maharaj, being a very pious king, said, "Okay." So he put him in a little cup of water. And the fish immediately expanded to the size of the cup. "Oh, king, please save me. I cannot live in this cup." So the king took him and put him in a small pond. And the fish expanded to the size of the pond. He said, "Oh, king, please, I've taken shelter of you. Please save me. I need some place." So he took him to a great lake. The fish still was very big. Then finally he took him to the ocean, and the fish expanded to the size of the ocean. Satyavrata Maharaj could understand that, oh, this is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so Lord Matsya, and so then when Lord Matsya avatar, he accepted the Satyavrata Maharaj's prayers. Satyavrata Maharaj, he only asked one thing of the Lord. He says, "My dear Lord, you're so kind to me that you come before me. I only want to hear about the glories and your pastimes and your transcendental qualities." That's it. That's all that Satyavrata Maharaj asked for. Now, and then Matsya, he instructed Maharaj that there's going to be an inundation, this world is going to be flooded, and we're going to create a great ship is going to appear, and I want you to board that ship, and you're going to take 7 sages, and you're going to have all the animals and plants, and I want you to collect all those and put them in the ship, and then while this inundation is happening, you're going to be on the ship with all the creatures and plants and the 7 sages, and I'll guide you through this inundation. So the Lord personally came when the water came and they were on the ship. So with Vasuki is kind of like the tide to the ship and on Lord Matsya's horn. So they traveled around the waters and glorifying the Lord. So now in the Bible they also have similar story. So some of you probably don't know this, but they call it the Noah's Ark. So there's a very pious man of God named Noah, and so he was told that God was going to come and he was going to flood the world because basically he was really upset. He was really angry at men that they weren't worshiping him, and so he said, "Oh, I'm going to get rid of these people. Okay, I don't like them." So here's a difference already in the stories that Krishna says, "Samoham sarva bhuteshu." I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. So now we're given information that God, well, he's not happy with these people. So there's misconception there. There's different conception. We're not actually talking about God when we may be talking about someone very powerful, just like Indra. Indra also has some power to throw water and inundate people. He can also drown great places. He also has the Samvartika clouds are under his command. So Indra, we know Indra is, he can be partial to people. And he can also be upset to people. This was in Krishna's Govardhan Leela. Indra came to destroy the residents of Vrindavan. And Krishna, he used his own mystic potency, his own unlimited potencies to teach Indra a lesson. So, there's a difference between Ishvara and the Param Satyam. So the Param Satyam, as we heard in previous lectures, Ajanma Krishna Prabhu the other day, he was talking about how Krishna, he's Purnam. Because he's Purnam, he has no need for anything. He's complete in himself. He doesn't need our offerings. So the same thing is too. We might be here, we just might not like God, we might be even saying bad things about him. He doesn't care. He doesn't need our offerings, but he also doesn't care about our curses or our defiance, because he's Purnam. So, anyway, in the story, the Noah's Ark, also in the Bible, so God tells Noah that you're the only pious man around, so I'm going to save you, but I'm going to destroy everyone else because I don't like them very much. Well, he didn't say I don't like them very much. Well, yeah, he did say that in stronger terms. And so he said, okay, you get all the animals, you build this great big ship, and he gave him the directions, it's going to be this big. And then everybody was around, he was laughing at Noah because, what are you building this big ship in the middle of nowhere? You know, you have to build it near the water, but there's no water here. And so then he said, okay, and said he also, many animals came and were sent and went into the ship and saved all kinds of animals. And then Noah and his family, they boarded this ship. And then the great rains came and the floods came and everybody was outside, oh, please save us. We're going to die. And they died, just like everybody else also in the Bhagavatam. You had this flood come, people die when you have floods. Then they also floated around until they found a piece of dry land, and some bird was flying around, a dove, and brought them to the piece of land, and the waters went down, and then they decamped. They got rid of the animals went off, and then Noah and the family and everything, and God promised from that point, according to the Bible, that he would never get angry again at man like that. So the lesson that's often derived from the Bible is that those who are good to God, those who are pious, and they worship God, they get rewarded. Sometimes not, but ultimately they get rewarded. They either go to heaven or they get saved from a great flood. Can you hear me? Is there something? Okay. Is it the mic needs to come up? Okay. I'm almost practically shouting now. So, just to summarize the differences between the two stories, Satyavrata Maharaj, when Matsya appeared before him to warn him of a great inundation, I'm going to send a ship to protect you and the animals, plants, and 7 great sages. All that Satyavrata Maharaj asked of Matsya, Lord Matsya, is, I just want to hear about your glories, nothing else. Whereas on the other hand, in the Bible story, very similar situation, floods coming, God told Noah, get a boat together, I'm going to take some animals. But it was to be saved from the wrath of God. And in the two stories, God is, in this Vedic version, God is impartial. In the Bible story, God is not impartial. So, I tell this story to explain, to show how rare or how uncommon this insight about the nature of the relationship between the Lord and his devotee is. So, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhakti Uttamam. So, pure devotional service is defined as that which is lovingly performed for the Lord without any desire for gain or profit through fruitive work or mental speculation, and is favorable to the Lord. So this is a technical definition. And this is, practically speaking, one of our unique selling points. So we want to talk about the practice, what it is we're in the business of giving to people, to the world. We're really only in the business of giving this. Because if we're not in the business of giving this, we might as well pack up, go home, because it's going to go downhill from there. We might be going on for a long time, but this is Kali Yuga, and because it's Kali Yuga, the tendency is towards sense enjoyment. And as Narada explained to Vyas in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto of this book, that the reason you weren't satisfied is because you did not glorify the Lord adequately. So if you're performing karma or jnana, you're not glorifying the Lord. So even sometimes the people, they come to the Lord and they give something to the Lord, but it's not actually bhakti because they haven't come to the Lord in this mood. Shri Shri Radha Parta Sarati Lalita Vishaka Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gornatai Ki Jai, and Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanumanji Ki Jai. So because people are never satisfied with anything short of bhakti, this world is just full of so many problems. People have so many personal problems. People have so many things, and so they're missing out on what could actually be a really, really satisfying. It's the ultimate goal of life. It's the param lakshya. What is our, param lakshya, our ultimate goal? Goal is Krishna prema, to develop love for Krishna. So these pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam are essential to hear, because this is what gives us faith in the lakshya, what gives us faith in the ultimate goal of life. As we see here, these are stories. These are not just stories, but these things actually happened. And Srila Prabhupada is very nice that when you sit at his feet, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it's like sitting at Srila Prabhupada's feet and hearing him explain what this is. I remember when I used to live in America, and many years ago, we used to run a preaching center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's in the southwestern United States. So we lived near the university, and students would come to our program. We'd have like a program on Sunday. We'd have a Sunday feast. And sometimes I'd speak, and sometimes my wife would speak. By the way, it's her birthday today. Hare Krishna. So, because sometimes I'd have to be busy, or sometimes I'd even be in the kitchen or doing something like that, and that's just how it goes. And so she'd get a chance sometimes to actually speak to the students. And I remember in America that you have all these students coming because they don't have the same samskars or the same social habits that we have in India. So sometimes they come, somebody would be sitting on the floor, somebody would be sitting on the couch. And can someone control the children, please? So what was very interesting was when she would talk about India, what life is like in India. And so she'd be there sitting in the armchair, and she'd be wearing a sari, and of course, and then everybody all the other students, and I remember on the couch, there was this one young student there, and his girlfriend was sitting on his lap in our house. And they're all sitting around her, and just listening to her speak about stories about India and what life is like in India. Devotional life, actually. And they were just enthralled with it. So in the same way, when you hear these narrations of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Srila Prabhupada is explaining what this is like, it's just like that, because Srila Prabhupada, he's a resident of Goloka Vrindavan. So it's like, yeah, this is just how it goes on. This is how the pure devotees, this is how the Lord interact. And he's telling it just like as if, he's there himself, because he is there himself. And so we hear about these things, and we're very fortunate that even we're not here, because this is the parampara, we still also get that benefit. Just like, for example, the Brahmana Patnis, the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas in Vrindavan. So they didn't have so much opportunity like the gopis to be always, dancing with Krishna or joking with Krishna or being right with Krishna. They didn't have that opportunity so much, but they heard. So they're doing their duties and they hear from somebody, oh, this is what Krishna did. And they became immediately attracted. Oh. And they had that faith. And they had such great faith that they were ready to abandon all of their duties just to actually be with Krishna. So this is the potency of sound, the sound vibration. Just by hearing about Krishna, one is immediately with Krishna. And that's because Krishna is the Param Satyam, is the absolute truth. So, Krishna, he appears to... So, because the devotees, they only want Krishna, then Krishna himself appears. So now this is a more complete explanation of the relationship with the Lord. Everybody knows God is great. Everybody prays to God for passing a test. When exam time comes, people are praying to God, oh, please let me pass this exam. Or, God, I have a little money, I could definitely do with some more money. There's like that. There's a joke about that. There's a man that's saying, okay, he wanted many. He wanted to be wealthy, so he said, okay, I'm going to pray to God. I don't believe in God, but I'm going to try this once. Maybe it'll work. So he prayed really hard, God, I want some money. And says, then all of a sudden, yes, my son. Oh, it's God, he's come before me. He says, oh, I've got God on the line. Now what? He says, God, are you really the greatest person in the world? He said, yes. Are you all powerful? Yes. Or do you have all the wealth in the world? Yes. Is all the wealth in only this one single planet just, equal to like one of your pennies? He said, yes, that is true. And I said, well, God, can you be very generous to me and just give me one of your pennies? And then, wait a minute, I forgot something, an important part of the joke. It says, God, is it true that you're also eternal and that for you, millions of years are just like one moment? He said, yeah, that's also true. He says, okay. So God, please give me one of your pennies. And God says, well, let me think about that for a moment. So, think about it for a moment. So, so people have this idea, and this is also described in the Vedas itself. Nitya nityam chaitanas chaitanam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. So God is fulfilling all desires. Now, what do you do with someone who's actually desireless, or when his only desire is the satisfaction of the Lord? That is indirectly also covered by this verse from the Upanishads, but it's not obvious what the result is. It's not that God is being an order supplier, but that there's this reciprocation between the Lord and his devotee. Therefore, this Chaitanya Charitamrita is narrated in order to describe what are the activities of the devotee and the Lord when there's no karma, jnana, desire, and it's all favorable. In other words, what is the pure relationship between the Lord and his devotees? This was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming to please his devotees in order to show them what is actually bhakti. So Krishna is describing this. This is described in the Bhagavatam. This is described in Bhagavad Gita, and so forth. And so, therefore, even though it's described here, people still had a difficult time grasping it. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared just to show people, to show by his personal example how it is. Just like when a teacher, he picks up a pencil and says, write ABC like this. He's not learning ABC, but he's showing what is his relationship like. So here, Maharaj Nabi and the Brahmanas, all they wanted was the Lord. Isn't that very interesting? Maharaj Nabi, he's a great king. He has so many things. You would think that someone who's so great, he has everything, that he'd just be enjoying like anything, that he'd like have, like 10 Xboxes or something like that in his palace, playing the Xbox. Hey, I've got all this money. I got all this wealth, all this fortune. I have all these, wives, and I can do anything, go anywhere, do anything. But all he wants to do is glorify the Lord. That's it. So we see also that Lord Krishna, that, he's, another pastime of Krishna's. He goes simultaneously to see a foolwala, someone who's just, making garlands, very poor, and a king who's very rich. But they're both devoted to Krishna. So this is the real point. So we, as a society, as a preaching mission, practically, we're all about just giving bhakti. Just telling people what is bhakti. Telling people that this is not so important. That what do you think is so important in life? Getting ahead, becoming very wealthy, becoming very famous, becoming very important, or being known as very charitable. I'm helping feed so many people. I'm opening schools. I'm opening hospitals. I'm helping people become educated in something mundane. This really isn't helping anybody. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, they're unsatisfied. They keep coming back for more. In this regard, as regards to satisfying the devotees, Srila Prabhupada, he quotes from Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants as well as to reestablish the principle of religion. I advent myself millennium after millennium. So you'll notice in here, Prabhupada, he says that Lord Vishnu's at the sacrificial appearance at the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Nabi was just to please the king and his associates. Otherwise, there's no need for his being present here because the Lord's agents are capable of destroying the miscreants. In fact, you see, during the Battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna himself didn't take up any arms. Isn't it? Krishna had Arjuna destroy the miscreants, the Pandavas, and those on the side of the Pandavas destroy the miscreants. So Krishna empowers his agents to act as wonderfully as he does. Sometimes even more wonderfully. But Krishna, he comes just for his devotees. So if you get Krishna, you get all these things. You get, you get social welfare, you get satisfaction, you get peace in society. So without Krishna, there's no peace. The peace formula: Bhaktaram yagyatapasam sarvavaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatvamam shantamirchati. So people try to achieve peace through other means. They try to achieve peace through study of economics, through public policy, through statecraft and politics, through social activism. But none of these people are ever peaceful. They never, ever, ever achieve peace. So sometimes they say, they're anti-war protests. Well, why do you have war at all? Well, there are two understandings. One is because you deserve it. And if you don't deserve it, then why protest? Isn't it? Krishna talks about this. He tells Arjuna, said, if you believe that there's no soul, then the matter comes into some configuration for some time, and then after some time it dissolves. And that's all you've got here. So why are the atheists so worked up? Why are they so troubled about social affairs? Why are the secularists troubled about injustice when there's no real basis for injustice according to their philosophy? So because they cannot practice what they preach, we reject their philosophy. You say your philosophy is impractical. Actually, reality is that people are concerned about these things because they're real. It's actually a part of our dimension. You may not be able to study it with a microscope, because there are many things in this world you cannot study scientifically. I always give this example. What if you want to know what is the average salary of a local drug dealer? Okay, we have some people who are selling drugs in this area and other areas. This is a big city, so there must be such people. Now, how are you going to find the average salary or the average income? The answer is it would be very difficult to impossible. Why is that? Because the drug dealers, the drug salesmen, don't want you to know who they are. So this is a very simple thing, something right in front of our eyes. We know they're drug dealers, but we can't understand this simple thing about them. So how are we going to prove something like the existence of God when we can't even prove the existence of something when we can't even perceive something so simple as this? And this isn't something that requires a microscope either. You just have to get them to agree. And you have to even find them. They don't even want you to know who they are. Right? Unless they're sure you're going to be a good client. So the Lord only comes for the satisfaction of the devotees, and the devotees, they care only for the satisfaction of the Lord. So you have the devotees, and then you have the devotees who are in training, those who are aspiring to become devotees. So we're also on the path. And we're also dear to the Lord too. Those who are... But there's a whole hierarchy. There are people who are dear, more dear, most dear. It's like one of the very last verses in the Nectar of Instruction. It explains that the karmis, they're on the lowest. And above the karmis, you have the jnanis. They're more dear to the Lord. And you can see why the jnanis are more dear to the Lord. They're somewhat dear to the Lord. They're a little bit introspective. They're a little bit thinkable. The jnani is not someone who's just very learned. Jnani is somebody who's actually developing jnana. Now there's a difference between jnana and agyan. Okay, so there's jnana, and agyan is, it's really referring to knowledge about nescience. It looks like jnana, but it isn't really jnana. Somebody may be very learned in some particular area, but he's, his learning is not necessarily actual spiritual, adhyatmic jnana. But people who speculate, eventually they actually come to Lord Krishna's feet. Eventually, they very, very gradually come to the realization, Bahunam Gyanavanante, what is it? Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavan Mam Prapadyante Vasudeva Sarvamati Sahamahat Sudurlabaha. So, eventually the jnanis, they come there, but after many, many lifetimes. But they're on the path, somehow or other. Then, above them, you have the yogis. So the yogis, they directly understand that, we're not this body, and that there's going to be a next body, and they actually take up some kind of process in order to make direct spiritual advancement. So now we come to the transcendentalists. These are spiritual. So there are three types. There's Brahmavadis, yogis, and bhaktas, depending on which aspect of the absolute truth they're trying to realize. So it is only the bhaktas that Krishna reveals himself to, because everybody else, the yogis, the Brahmavadis, the Gyanis, the karmis, they have some desire to fulfill. So Krishna reciprocates according to their desires. And that's the key thing. Krishna is reciprocating with the bhakta, and Krishna is reciprocating with the non-bhakta according to their desires. Therefore, Krishna says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu, that I am equal to all. This is how the Lord is equal to all. So, this bhakti bhav, this mood of bhakti, is what is important. Is what makes the whole difference between actually getting the mercy of the Lord. Everybody gets the mercy of the Lord, but getting the highest benediction, which is Krishna himself. So everybody's praying. You'll notice that everybody's praying to God. Okay, they say we should pray to God, but not for God. They're praying for something else. Pass a test, get more money, kill my enemy, or something like that. It's always for something else, but not God. Only the bhaktas, only the pure bhaktas, only they can get God. And so therefore this should be our business when we're teaching this message, we're preaching this message and so forth, and making advancement and trying to make advancement on the path toward pure devotional service. So this is our only business. This is our unique selling point. This is what we're giving to people. And if we do that, then we'll be happy, and everybody else will be happy. So I would like to stop here and open up the floor for any discussion or questions. Hare Krishna. I'll ask one question. Why is so few people here today? There's some program going on? Oh, camps. It's summertime, right. Okay. Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Yeah. You want a microphone? You're going to have to shout. Well, there's a couple. There's a few reasons. One is it depends on you, and it also depends on the association you're with. Okay, here's the question. Devotee's asking. I spoke the question about my wife and how whose birthday is today, and and when she was talking to students about India and how they were sitting around here and they were so enthralled just to hear. So the question is, why we're devotees, or we're trying to be devotees, we're sitting in Bhagavatam class every day and I don't feel like that. Well, there's a couple different reasons. One reason I'm going to say, this is very important, is it also depends on who's giving the class. So, Prabhupada, if you get the chance to sit and hear stories, If you get a chance to hear stories told by disciples of Srila Prabhupada who had his personal association, just listen to the way they tell the story. It's like they met somebody from another planet. That they're just so impressed, so enthralled with Srila Prabhupada's demeanor, with his presence, and so forth. These devotees would do anything for Srila Prabhupada. One devotee, his name was Sikhi Mahidi, he's in Mayapur. He told me about the Sankirtan. They were so fired up around Prabhupada that if they had, he told me that he said, if, to win this marathon and to get Prabhupada's association, if we knew that the only way was to get a gun and to go up to people and threaten them that we're going to shoot you if you don't take this book, we would have done that. So Prabhupada's presence was just such that people were immediately just carried, they're immediately purified in his presence. And actually, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote an essay on the Vaishnava Aparad. And so he talks about the different classes of Vaishnavas. Okay, you have Vaishnava Praya. There's people who are, they're still chanting, they've not yet chanted the holy name of the Lord at least once purely. And they're on the level of Brahmanas. So many of us are like on that level. We're trying to become qualified as the devotee. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives three classes of Vaishnavas, people who've finally come to the higher platform. One who has chanted the Lord's holy name purely once, and not namabhas, but actually purely. One who's incessantly chanting the Lord's holy name, he's considered Madhyama Adhikari. The one who's chanted the Lord's holy name purely at least once is considered Kanishta Adhikari. One who's incessantly chanting the Lord's holy name is considered Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari is one for whom people begin chanting, the holy name incessantly. So that was Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was that kind of person. He really was a resident of Goloka Vrindavan. And so when he came, in his presence, people were uplifted. They were immediately purified. So when you don't have the benefit of such a person's presence, then, it's going to be a little more difficult. It's going to be a little more difficult to become absorbed and enthralled and so forth. But we have to do with what we can in our situation, and so therefore that requires practice. So when we're doing sadhana, the point is that we're doing sadhana because the mind wanders. Okay, so the mind. The mind wanders. When the mind wanders, you have to bring it back. So what is it? Abhyasa yoga yuktina cetasa nanyagamina. So it has to be the king. So this is, so one can still become siddha, come to that stage, but it's going to take a long time, just like Narada Muni. So he's a sadhana siddha. So even had to give up, his body just to get it and become the Narada Muni, eventually. So the Lord appeared before him once just to increase his desire to attain him. So in the same way, we just have to plug on. And so this is what it means to actually be transcendentally situated. We may not have a desire or a very strong desire to attain the Lord. We might not be absorbed so fully, but nonetheless, we force ourselves to do it. That puts us on the transcendental platform because this is the order of the Lord. So, when you get the favor of the Lord, eventually you just do this, just like Rukmini. She was willing to wait forever, lifetime after lifetime, for the favor of the Lord. So we have to be like that. We're going to do our sadhana. We're just going to do our sadhana. We're going to succeed. We're going to fail, but we're going to do our sadhana. Yogasta kura karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhi yasidyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchite. That abandon, you say, Krishna is telling Arjuna,